Hey everyone, welcome to Friday. Woo! Love me some Friday, people. And welcome to the Fans of the Framework in 5. You know how this gig goes. We were challenged by our amazing partners to produce videos on Facebook that can explain a certain solution in our framework in 5 minutes or less. So let's get started. So, this falls under the tactic of setting and elevating high standards for behavior in positive communication. And so, what I want to talk about is how leadership matters in this, and most specifically, how leadership behavioral standards matter. That's a really big deal, all right? And you're like, well, wait a minute, don't we as leaders already, like the behavior standards that you write for everybody else apply to us too, right? Well, yes, they do. Let me explain. So, when our organization, had an employee-driven team that was working really hard on the behavioral standards and making sure that they were alive and well and walking down the halls of our organization, all of a sudden, we as senior leaders went to an employee-driven team meeting and they were like, why is it that some department leaders sit down and speak with their employees and ask them systematic and purposeful questions and some don't? Why is it that some department leaders write thank you notes every once in a while, expressing gratitude and recognition and celebration and appreciation for their employees, and some don't? Why is it that some department leaders have regularly scheduled staff meetings where instead of standing at the front of the room going blah, 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 like Charlie Brown's teacher, they actually encourage innovation and great transparent communication and ask for input during these meetings? And some leaders don't. Why is it that some departments have up to date with the newest information communication boards and some don't? Well, that's a great question, isn't it? That's the question of the hour, isn't it? So, all great questions indeed. And didn't we have our little tail between our legs? Well, if you've been watching Fans of the Framework for any length of time at all, you know the answer to the question that people adopt change at different rates. That some people simply do not pick up what anybody has laid down, or they don't believe that it applies to them, or they missed the memo, or they didn't want to do it, and they thought it was stupid, so they decided just to skate under the radar for a few more days and see if anyone notices, or a few more years, see if anyone notices, and so they just don't do it, right? So leaders are no different when it comes to adhering to the leadership standards. So think about that. We had never set standards for leadership. We trained to the leadership bundle. We trained to our expectations of our leaders. We set standards as far as this is what the right way to do about it, right way to do it, and this is the wrong way to do it. But we never, ever, ever drew a line in the sand that said the following: as a leader in this organization, I am committing to having a staff meeting monthly and not talking about stuff that's not of value to my people, and not just conveying information that they could read in an email, but rather really focusing on their wants, needs, and desires. I am committed as a leader to rounding and asking people's thoughts on how they're doing in their work environment, right? I am committed to those things as a leader. And better yet, send those leadership standards out to everyone in your organization so that leaders, that's a true statement of accountability, isn't it? When it's like, okay, from now on, this is the line in the sand. This is how we're going to behave as leaders around here. So, what do you think? You think that you need a set of leadership standards, standards of behavior for your leaders? We can certainly help you with that because everybody does. Please give us a call. www.capstoneleadership.net. Push the button, book a call. We would love to talk to you about how to set leadership standards for your organization. So, big news. Next week, not only are we getting a new president and there's an inauguration of the first female vice president going on in our universe, but we're starting a new program here on Facebook Live. It's going to be called Just Start with Jane. It begins on the 20th. I'll put out an announcement of that probably Monday. And I'm going to have a guest speaker. So Sue is focusing her Facebook Lives on case studies of very successful, usually going to interview a senior leader or a CEO about the transformation that their organization has taken. I'm really focusing on frontline leaders. You know, in our life in Capstone, we have met so many amazing leaders that just take the baton or take the wheel on one of our solutions and skyrocket it higher than we ever thought possible, right? Higher than we did and higher than we ever thought possible. And so you can count twice a month, Just Start with Jane. I'm going to interview two of those people every month. So I start with Karen Stockton from Dignity Health, Chandler, Arizona. And she and I are going to talk about the difference between a Navy SEAL and a park ranger. Tune in. Thanks. Have a great weekend and make sure you fill your bucket filled with something amazing.